Hello, good evening. Nice to see you, nice. I hope everybody is having a wonderful evening. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let me know if my audio is okay. That is always of great concern to me. Yeah, so before we start, I just want to do a few advertisements. The first advertisement is I'm doing live streams, no, not live streams, Zoom talks next Sunday at 5 p.m. and then the first Sunday in January. So you're welcome to sign up to that on my website. The other thing is that I'm doing a retreat over Easter next year, and I haven't advertised it yet, and it's already quite a few people have booked. There's not really there is a limit on how many people can come, but there's a bit of a limit at the retreat house of accommodation. So if you're interested in that, you can find out on my website. But if you are interested, just also know that the person at the retreat house is currently sick at the moment. So even if you do book through Amelia, you have to wait to find out if you get a space or for your questions to be answered, because yeah, the people are sick, which happens, and they've been sick for quite a while, so I don't know when that will get undone. Yeah, okay, so let's begin. If you want to ask questions, you can do through Zoom, and that's in the box below, and in the chat. Amelia is the moderator in Zoom, so she will sort you out if you're given any GIF, is that the right word? Trouble. Yeah, I forgot the word. Yeah. Okay. Let's begin. What is the title of the talk? Oh yeah, and always remember, if you like this talk, then please remember to like it. People don't do that. I don't know why, because there's lots of views on it. Well, maybe they hate the talk. So if you like the talk, please show that you like the talk. And also subscribe. I'm going to try and do the talks at 4:30 on Sundays, every Sunday. But I've decided to do it in a way where you can pre-register it and you can make it so there is a video that comes up and shows if you're going to go live. It's like you can subscribe to it and it will tell you the next dates that I'm going live. So subscribe to my website and keep an eye out for when I'm going live, because if I'm not going live on the Sunday, there won't be one of those pre-screens, whatever you call it. Pre-live screens. Yeah. Okay. So we begin with the talk. The name of the talk is How to Prevent Nuclear War with Non-Duality. I think I made this title up when it was a few days ago when Russia accidentally bombed Poland, and there was all the stuff in the news like NATO and all the other European countries were like, what are we going to do? Who are we going to blame? The problems. Yeah, not that it's a funny idea, but then it inspired me to give a talk about that. So as usual, I'm going to start talking about non-duality and not about nuclear war. And first of all, just describing what non-duality is. So what wants to come out is, this is it, baby. Yeah. Yeah, it's just a moment of calm. That was a little intense going live because I wasn't technically ready with everything. It's a lot doing this by yourself, and it's not like somebody can help me. I know I've got Amelia moderating the Zoom, but that's not really that's complicated in itself, but that's not really my problem sometimes. It's that here on this side in my room, like there's lots of things that I have to navigate when I go live, and then it's suddenly like, now give a talk. Yeah. So yeah, there's just coming down from blip, 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 action, action, action. Yeah. So non-duality is the remembering of something which is deeply hidden in most humans. It's like something they can't remember. That's why a lot of teachers call it waking up, because it's so hidden in them. And it's not something which goes in time. So it's it's not a thought, it's not an idea, it's not a behavior. And if it's not that, then we don't know what to look for. We don't know how to achieve that. What we're used to with our human bodies and with our human mind is grasping at things, getting things, changing things, doing things. And it's always subject-object space. There's a me here that can achieve something. So waking up is, in one way, the closest thing to who you are, the most intimate sense of being. It's like the most obvious and free thing there is, but at the same time it's like insanely confusing for the thinking mind and for that illusory person that wants to achieve things and do things and become something. So it's not about healing yourself, although I totally recommend healing the person. It's not about you intellectually understanding things, although I totally recommend understanding non-duality intellectually and understanding healing and understanding how to live a more healthier, free, happy life. But it's actually not about that. And the reason that you can say so clearly that it's not about that is because these are things that you can achieve. So if you can achieve it, that's not it. So half the audience now cuts out. This might be why people tend not to like my video. They're like, fucking hell, man. Oh, well, that's got me a bing bing. I just swore. I am a bit of a swearer, but this YouTube doesn't like it, so I tend to try to restrain it just for YouTube. I also, the audience members don't like it as well. I also get messages talking about my repressed energy or sexual energy because I swear. Yeah. So then it's like, why on earth would we even talk about something that we can't achieve? But non-duality is trying to point out that there is something in experiencing that's beyond you, that's beyond achievement, that's beyond pleasure in time or pain, and it's always been here. So since you were born, believe it or not, there was always this awake presence. And you could say that this awake presence has two qualities. It has this empty looking, this consciousness, this no-thingness that's looking. It's like absolute still, peaceful looking. And this love side, which you could say is the everything side, which is this I am. But not I am a baby. Like as a baby, you weren't like contemplating the nature of reality and who you were and what your meaning was in life. You just were like, what is this that I've been born into? Did I ask for this? Yeah, so as a baby, there were these two qualities. Everything else was up in the air. Your personality, your name, your way of being, your looks, everything else was in change, in flux. Like the baby grows so rapidly. Like most babies, when they come out, they look like old people that are very red. Not all. And then they're quite not so pretty looking. And then within a few months, they look quite adorably cute. And they've grown quite a lot. So it's like this very rapid change as a baby. But the baby has no sense of who it is. It's not laying there with a center, but yeah, it has this immense beingness. And it doesn't know it has a hand. It's like, has no sense that's its hand. It has no sense that it's suckling off its mother's breast, which is quite a bizarre thing. I am eating my mother. There's no sense of who the mother is. It just is. It doesn't have this whole existential drama of who I am, what is my position in the world, what have I got to do in order to be loved. It's just being. And it doesn't have very strong memory, so it's not really memorizing its beingness. So you can't remember being a baby because the memory wasn't very strong at that age. And we always have this sense of being. We always have this two qualities, this empty looking and this sense of I am. They're always present. That never leaves. ever. Yeah, that's fantastic news. So the essence never leaves. What does come and go is the appearance of you. What you want, what you don't want, what you think, what you like, what you don't like. And that comes and goes. So you is an ever-changing phenomena. Ever-changing. It never stays the same, even though you think you do. It kind of like has a pattern to it, but it never stays the same. It's always growing and evolving. Like if you think about your personality when you were 13 to now, it's quite a big evolution. There will be lots of similarities, but even your face, like when I look back at my videos over the years, like my face changes so much. Of course, it looks much younger now. The Botox has worked. That's a joke. I don't have Botox, otherwise I wouldn't be able to do all my facial expressions. But if you do have Botox, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm not one of those spiritual teachers that's against plastic surgery or anything like that. I think each to their own. Each to their own, and that's really beautiful, whatever you pick, as long as it comes from like a pace of healing and growing. I don't think it'll be destructive. If it comes from like a really contracted place, then maybe it will, but that's the same as all things. And if you feel like a new nose will help you grow and expand and change your beliefs about yourself, why not? Why not? I don't like people judging other people for that. Because it's predominantly woman judging woman, judging woman, judging woman, judging woman, judging woman, judging woman in that situation. Yeah, it's like a weird thing that we do to ourselves. I'm not saying the men species isn't involved, but yeah, I'm getting into hot water there. Get off that subject. We're talking about non-duality, Lisa. Yeah, so that is always there, this empty looking and this I am. There is no change in that ever, ever. You can't ever be alive without consciousness. In deep sleep, there's nothing to be conscious of, so therefore there's no memory of it, because what would you remember? But there's always consciousness. But this is going to sound a little bit strange, but I'm just saying this to prove a point. And in your waking hours, like consciousness is the first thing that's there. Like I always say, it gets switched on when you wake up in the morning, but it's actually always there. It's conscious, so there's consciousness, and then what gets switched on is the apparent person. And when the person comes in, the memory begins, so you begin to remember the experience. You don't remember deep sleep. So what's absent in deep sleep is you, is memory. And then when you wake up, there is still this consciousness, and then the person begins to appear, and you come, like there's this awakeness, and then you begin to come to light, your memory's turned on, and then you're like, where am I? Oh, I'm in bed. What do I got to do? Nothing. It's Sunday. Like, so there's all these thoughts. So consciousness is like always present. Always present. Sometimes when I describe that, I'm like, consciousness is the first thing when you wake up. But it's just a way of describing it. It's trying to say like the consciousness is there all the time. It's there prior to you. You is something that appears in consciousness. It's not like prior to you waking up in the morning, there is a you there in the background, like typing on a computer program, on a keyboard, like, and then turning on consciousness and waking up. It's like there is awakeness, and then in comes you, remembering yourself. And this consciousness, the reason that it's so important and so fundamental to healing as well, is because it's totally free. It's like the safe place in experiencing. So in this world, all manner of things can happen. All manner of things. good, bad. You can be a really amazing person, have amazing karma, and then tsunami comes or something. We don't know what's going to happen. This life is wild. All types of things can happen. And you could say, in a way, there is no safe place in that. You can have safer lives and less safe lives. And there's like great therapeutic ways in order to create a more safe, more secure, more integrated life for yourself. But in a way, ultimately, it's not safe. Like everything dies, everything changes. So even if you have like a really ultra safe life now, then nuclear war could come or something. Anything can happen. But I don't mean to get people paranoid about this. I know this could fit into like OCD thinking, like, oh God, something terrible is going to happen. It's just accepting the nature of life, like everything is in change. And we don't know what the future holds. But this is like you'll get out of jail free, because the consciousness and the I am are never affected. And the I am is the love that you've always wanted. It's that big, expanded love that you've always wanted. And the consciousness is the silent stillness. It's always here. It never left. Ever. And there's nothing you can do to make it abandon you. So even if you do something terrible, if you're the one that presses the button for the nuclear war, that never abandoned you. That never says you've been a really terrible person this time, I'm going to abandon you. It can't. It's always there. It's even there in death. It never leaves. It's the nature of everything in this world. And waking up to me is this recognition of it. There's different stages to waking up, but like the main waking up that I'm talking about is the recognition and an energetic shift to that. So you no longer feel like you're a person experiencing this life. You're resting in yourself. You feel like this is consciousness experiencing, and like consciousness and the I am are your fundamental sense of being, and the person comes and goes in it. So it's like an energetic shift, and it's no longer feeling like this boundedness inside of the body. Like you are bound. You as a person are bound. Yeah, I have so many layers on today. It's been snowing. I'm concerned that it's messing up my microphone, because if my microphone touches, it goes. So let me know if it's going. I can't tell. It's like a deep Tibetan hum. So this is the most important part of recognition. This is the most important part to me, is this recognition and this shift. And we're not really talking about healing the person here. However, healing of the person is like part and parcel of waking up. It's like undeniable that the you is going to change in a more positive and open and expanded way. It's impossible not to when you begin to question yourself. And it's impossible not to do therapy on yourself as well. Like changing your dynamics, the way you interact with people, the way you look at the world. Like it's going to change everything. Because what we're saying is that life is oneness, not two. And that everything is connected, like everything is interconnected. It's the same energy, it's one thing. And so if you really realize that, that's going to fundamentally change the beliefs as the person. Like, how can you hate your neighbor? How can you hate that person? How can you be like stuck in perpetual fear? There is a shift that will naturally occur in the person. I'm not saying that this shift makes the person a perfect person and an enlightened person. I don't believe in that. But it certainly changes the perspective and changes the energy from what it was before, which is very much about me, my life, the way I interact with society, what's happening to me, who likes me, I'm the center of the universe. It really changes that. It makes you question all types of dynamics and beliefs that you have. So yeah. So the title, like nuclear war, like, how many times do I say in war? So the title about nuclear war is, to me, the way in which non-duality stops nuclear war is on an individual basis. Like the recognition of this is love. So even if you have difficult personality dynamics, even after waking up, the fundamental sense of this is love, is a connectedness with all things, and it doesn't want to cause harm. It might cause harm by ignorance or by not taking things into consideration, but it doesn't want to go up and kill people in the street or create war. It's more like it will do things accidentally, not understanding a dynamic and doing something. Or, but it wouldn't intentionally want to kill or hate on someone or hate a whole different nation. That all seems so abstract, that there's this whole nation of people that are different from me and I need to kill them in order to secure my safety. I know it's not as simple as that. There's like so many people involved. But the way that non-duality stops war is if everybody recognized non-duality, you wouldn't want to hurt your species. But I don't mean just recognizing it intellectually, because there's different stages to it. I mean really recognizing it on the heart level. Like really that I am level. There is not the desire to hate. There is no hate. Like there is none of this blame, like they've done this to me, they are guilty. There is blame in a responsible way. There is maybe like emotions of sadness and grief, but it's not like this hate-based blame that wants revenge, that wants to dominate. It just wouldn't be able to do that. So if you want to stop it, then you have to get everybody you know into non-duality, which will be a disaster. People are ready when they're ready. And that, I think, is like a really powerful statement, because I don't know if that's the same if you all went to therapy, because therapy works on the person and changes the person and makes the person more balanced, but I don't think it has such a profound energetic shift. Like if you're in contact with love all the time, you couldn't do that. So therapy doesn't necessarily connect you to that love of the I am. Like when you've been in love with someone, like really in love, not in a possessive way, but you just have these moments of like really being in love with them. Like how could you think about war? I don't mean possessive, needy, addictive love. I mean in a very expansive, like just like don't want to be anywhere else, completely dissolved in that moment love. You can't think of then like, I hate you so much, I'm going to get up and set my nukes on you. Poof! It just wouldn't happen. I also think that this life is magical, but I don't really have intellectual clarity on that. It's like a feeling, it's not like a teaching. It's like, I think that, like, in a way, as humans, we're collectively creating, like telepathically in a way. So at the moment, it doesn't surprise me that nuclear war is like beckoning, because we just had this 2 years of lockdown, and I think it's created a lot of mental illness, a lot of sadness, a lot of depression, a lot of hate, a lot of social problems. And through that, I think in general population, there is this sense of frustration and anger and maybe hate. Eckhart Tolle, I think I was listening the other day, is saying that we're becoming more and more mad. And so our society is going to reflect that, because we're like a collective animal that's all thinking as one. We think we're thinking individually, but we're so deeply affected by the thoughts that are around us. It's really infectious. If like 70% of the population all started imagining blue at the same time, the rest of the 30% of the population would start imagining blue without any verbal messaging to do so. We're so convinced by speaking that speaking is the ultimate. The communication is just about speaking and our body language, and that's it. And there's so much more to communication that we haven't discovered and that scientists don't research, because what money is in that. Maybe like people. Oh, I think that my audio stopped, right? Has my audio stopped? Why is it not going in there? Oh well, it's not going in there. But it's not stopped. That's a good thing. Oh, good. Thank you, everyone, for saying it's fine. Yeah, that's good, because I'm doing this all blind. Yeah. Forgot what I was saying. Something about war, but it was miserably finished. Yeah. So that's the other thing. If you're into non-duality, that's another impulse. Bagpuss. Another bagpuss. I can't say it. It's another momentum to connect with the I am, because the more that you connect with your freedom and your I am and the love and the empty looking, that is infectious to everyone that's around you. We're not separate. It's like a dominoes effect. So we've got to like love, 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 and then we blast the rest of society into love. We nuke them with love. But you have to concentrate on that, or be centered in that. Yeah. Okay. So we take questions now. So if you want to ask questions, you can do through Skype, which is Lisa Cairns 12, or you can do through, what's that thing called? Zoom. So just go to the chat, and if you go to the top, it's pinned, you can find the Zoom address. And then if you're in Zoom now listening, if you would like to put your hand up so I can see the question. Okay, and you can also ask through YouTube chat, but please remember to put question and then the question, because otherwise you're potentially exposing me to men being sexually inappropriate. So please remember to do that. I got caught last week, which I shouldn't even really talk about because that encourages them, they say on the internet, but I just want you to realize how important it is that you put question and then write your question. Like I tried not to say that and said it was for speed, which it is for speed, but it's vital you do that. Thank you. Okay, so I take call-ins first. So if you want to call through Skype, put call me. And then I just go to Zoom and see if there is any hands up in Zoom. Nope, there is no hands up in Zoom that I can see. Okay, so I just read the ones in Skype. Bruce, hey Bruce. Hi Lisa, a few times you have mentioned past life. I was wondering if you could elaborate on what you mean by past life. Many thanks and all the best, Bruce. Yeah, thanks Bruce for your question. I don't know what I mean by past lives. I think my relationship with it changes. I feel like sometimes I remember things that aren't in this life. So it's like my character has evolved from other stories from different lives. Like I have a strong connection to a witch, like a healer. And yeah, there's a strong connection to that story. So that's the only thing really that I know about it, is that in my story there is a connection to these other stories, like a resonance. And there's also a feeling as well of like having lived all stories, or knowing all stories, like all characters. So there is this like deep connection to other people's stories. So that's one thing. And then if you like research Indian philosophy and Indian religions and Buddhism, they often talk about past life. So there's a connection there. So dependent on the group that you're following or what you're researching, they will have different ideas. What I learned was something called rebirth, which I liked the idea of, which is not a personal thing. So it's not like Lisa is reborn. It's like an energy that's reborn. So you could say that Lisa is like an energy, but she's not like a separate entity. It's like this energy of Lisa, but Lisa has come from many characters prior to that. So it's like a build-up of human energy that gets reborn, and that energy kind of like gets stuck together and then is reborn again. And if you look at that through like Western science and like Western thinking, you could look at that as genes and conditioning, because conditioning comes from all humans that have come before. So the way in which we're conditioned is the way in which society believes that we should act and behave as humans, and that's come from this line of people that have been teaching each other through stories how to behave. So in a way, you're acting out other people's stories through that, even though that's a really complicated notion. And then also your genes are kind of information that's come from the past of other humans and their stories. So for an example of that, there was this test on rats where they traumatized a mother rat and then they bred her, and they didn't traumatize the baby rats, but when they introduced the babies to the trauma that the mother was traumatized by, say pencil, the rats were naturally afraid of it. So it's like this information we're always passing on. So all of that to me kind of like mixed together in a cauldron and kind of feels right. But I don't know about these things. It's in the sense of, it's not like you can open up the universe and read the coding of how this is working. So it's something that we're really attracted to in humans is people that sound like they really know what they're talking about, because I'm sure that helped us survive. And there's some things that you can be more accurate about. But with this, how can we be accurate about it? In the sense, like, how can we prove or not prove past lives? Like, it's not like we can do a test that we can think of, like, to test past life. I mean, some of the Buddhists do, and they go around, they find children that can speak about their past life in detail that they wouldn't possibly know about. But there's never been some sort of like scientific worldwide tests of past life. And some people expect non-duality teachers to have some sort of like magic wand where they slice open reality, open it up, look at the coding, and then like, and then the teacher comes and it's like, yes, there is past life and I am ultimately correct. And that's also valid because that's what's happening in that experience, but it's because that body feels it. I don't know if that body can necessarily prove it through some sort of mathematical explanation or scientific explanation. And I feel like women tend to be more like I don't know and more open to multiple possibilities and more comfortable with holding that. And people dislike that in a leader. So recently I went on to Buddha at the Gas Pump Buddha at the Gas Pump YouTube page, and I looked at all the interviews, his popular interviews on there, and I went through the popular interviews, and guess what? You can go and do it yourself as an experiment, but what you might see is that it's like man, 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 man. So the most popular is a man, the second most popular is a man, third most popular. And why is that? Because I think what he tries to do is he tries to do man, woman, man, woman. So I don't think it's Rick Archer that's being sexist and only interviewing men. It's the audience that is picking to watch men. And the thing that's even more mind-blowing about that is that the biggest audience to spirituality is women. And I think, and this is maybe a like really sexist idea that could get machine gunned, so you're so welcome to comment in the box below and tell me that if I've been sexist or inappropriate, and we can open up a discussion, because I'm so open to expanding the information in this brain and thinking about things in a different way. But what I conclude is that women have been taught and tend to be attracted to somebody that's very sure this is the way. Because in the past, maybe, like our evolution was, like if you had a really sure man, it was like, yes, I can do it, and yes, then maybe your survival chances were higher. So a woman maybe has more suspicion that a woman could possibly lead because she's not so sure. But it's a really subconscious thing, because it's us as women that are doing this. If we're the biggest audience of spirituality, and you go on to something like Buddha at the Gas Pump, which would be interesting to ask statistically in his YouTube analytics, like what is his biggest audience? Because I do know that YouTube tends to attract more men as well. But his biggest, and why that the most popular talk speakers on there are men, and why that's like by far. Go on now and take a look and see. So this sureness is a very interesting thing. And we kind of like, I suppose we need to change from that, because that's maybe was really great in the past when our survival was a lot more vulnerable. But now that we're living in this like collective society and we've got the opportunity to evolve, maybe we need to leave those qualities behind, because maybe that's not the best leader for like international peace. Because I'm sure that, I'm always dreading saying his name, because whatever I come up with, everyone always tells me it's wrong. Putin. Sorry, it's my brain. I'm neurologically diverse. Struggles with words. Putin, and like Boris Johnson. So they're very much like, I know the way, follow me, my way is definitely the best, I am right. And maybe that's something that we can evolve past if we internally as individuals evolve past that. That surety is maybe great when we're like really like struggling for survival. But when we're in this opportunity of evolving into a peaceful society, maybe that actually also creates war and creates a lot of conflict. And the more peaceful way is maybe a more feminine way of like, I don't have all the answers, but that doesn't mean that you need to be afraid of me. That doesn't need to mean that you need to be suspicious. Recently, I read somebody saying, like that I seem like a con artist. I don't get that so often. And I also simultaneously read that comment while reading these books on lying. One of my characters I'm writing in my books, I'm also a fiction writer, they're lying, and so I wanted to read these books on lying. And what was really super interesting in the research on lying and the way that it presents typically in society, it is actually similar to people that have been through a really profound shift and really questioned the nature of their reality. So it's like you get regular society that doesn't lie, and they answer questions in a specific way. And then you get liars, and then you get people that have been through a non-duality investigation. And what ends up looking similar is the liars and the non-duality people in the lying world, like in the research of liars. And the reason it is because, like, so a liar, when a liar is asked a question that they're lying about, they won't give you a straight answer. So they won't say yes or no if they're lying about it. They'll give you a sort of more covert or more unsure answer. So somebody very famous for that is like Bill Clinton, with the he cheated on his wife. And when he was asked questions about it, I'm now forgetting, he didn't answer directly. So it wasn't like, did you cheat on his wife? And he was like, no. It was something like no categorically, but it was like the answers weren't a direct answer. So this is something that they look for in lying, is like not direct answering. I can't explain that right now. But when you're also been through a profound internal shift, you really realize that your reality isn't necessarily true. Your thoughts aren't necessarily true. You don't think that you're a liar, but you know so deeply that any story that you give somebody can be interpreted a billion ways, and you can present it in different ways. So you really become to see that like stories aren't truth. So the way that we're narrating things aren't truth. It doesn't mean that we become liars, but it means that we maybe become more humble about the way we answer questions. So we're not so sure about things. We're more like, yeah, it could be. I'm not sure. So if somebody asked me if I was enlightened, like I might be very non-specific in the way that I answer. In the world of lying, that would be considered a lie because I'm not being very specific about it. Like they would consider being specific means that you're less likely to be showing that you're lying. But it's such a complicated subject. If you asked if I'm enlightened, like to me, if I said, yes, I am enlightened, that would be a lie. But then to also say, no, I'm not enlightened would be a lie. Like it's not as easy as all of that. And that really fascinated me, that they like hold similarities. And I thought about the liar as well, and how like when you're lying, like if you're a proper liar that lies all the time, you're acutely aware that the nature of your stories influence people, aren't true, and are dependent on the way you spin it. So the way people see you, the way people see reality is dependent on the way you spin it. So you're very, like in a way, removed from what you're saying. You know what you're saying isn't true, and you most probably look at everybody else with that doubt as well. It's not the same as a non-duality realization, but it's this kind of like suspicion on the nature of storytelling, whereas people in the middle just believe in their reality. It's like, yes, this is right, this is wrong, this is the way it is. And so that really interested me. So what we might also have, like subconsciously, is when we listen to people that aren't really sure, we might subconsciously question whether they're lying, because we might have some form of knowing this in our body. Not that they are lying, but knowing that, or thinking or believing that people that aren't certain with their answers and aren't really strong with their answers are lying, and the people that are stronger with their answers are less likely to be lying. And I think a lot of women in non-duality tend to present this. Like I see a lot of women, and men as well, but more women, I think, being less certain in the answers. And I really respect it and I really love it. But it creates, I think, distrust in the audience. The audience wants somebody that's really like, bam, 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 boo. So basically, Bruce, you just started a massive like about that answer, and that's my perspective on it, but I can't know its truth. The only thing that I can ever know that's true is what's happening. There is things that are relatively more true and less true, but the thing that I know that's truth is what is this empty looking and this I am. Can you handle that? I'm sure you can, Bruce, but everybody else, can you handle that? How does it make you feel? Okay. Questions. Okay, let's have a look in Zoom first. Otherwise, what's the point of me having Zoom on? Let's have a look. Any hands up? So put your hands up in Zoom if you want to ask a question. I don't think there's any hands up. Oh, I got 2 pages. Gallery. But I think the hands up goes to the front, don't they? Oh yeah, there is a hand up. Okay. Oh wow, you have a long name. So the person with that hand up, whose name is long, and they're going to have to aid me in how to say that, you can unmute your microphone. Hello. One moment, I can't hear you. I'm not sure if that's because of me or if that's because of you. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Yeah. Hello, 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 hello. I think the microphone.
Hello, 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 hello.
Yeah, I think it's you.
Microphone.
Whose name is Manjushri. Manjushri? I think there's something wrong with your microphone if you just want to have a quick check of that. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just go to Sam now, Manjushri. So you can unmute your microphone, Sam.
Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Sam. Thank you for your question. How can I help you or not?
I would like to ask about the empty looking that you described earlier.
The what, sorry?
The empty looking.
The empty looking, yeah.
Aspect of the now. So basically, I feel like kind of all the aspects of my personality structure are just kind of like a movie, kind of being very clear to me in a way, and there's no sense of seeking, but my mind keeps wondering if what I learned about, because obviously from listening to non-duality, there's like there used to be a bunch of thoughts of how it looks like in the visual field and what it is. And so these thoughts kind of are wondering if what that means, like trying to put a finger on it, but at the same time, I know that, as you mentioned earlier, there's no kind of truth to it in any way.
Yeah. So there's
no.
Sorry?
I said no perspective.
Yeah. So there is thoughts arising in the experience that's questioning, like, what is that empty looking? And that empty looking is watching those thoughts. Is there a sense of that, Sam? I can't hear you.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. Yes, there is a sense of that, which kind of makes it very neutral. Like, there's this insane neutrality behind it, but yeah.
And what's wrong with the neutrality? Are you looking for love, or are you looking for an experience?
Oh no, there's no sense that it's a problem.
Yeah.
Actually, it was like, it's kind of just like noticing the confusion.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so there's just distance from it. It's the thoughts playing. So the mind might still have energy of like producing thoughts, and there's no sense that you need to get anywhere, or that there is an answer, or that you need to be something. Because there's nothing wrong with thoughts inherently. It's the belief in them that's the problem. Like the belief, like that I need to know what this is or what that is.
It seems like there's a momentum of constantly checking,
right?
To see if there's like, because I used to do this a lot, kind of checking if there's any kind of, like the way you just described it, like any kind of trying to get anywhere, trying to find like a position.
Yeah, that's understandable, that the mind has been trained to do that, like many years, or it might not be many years, but a period of time of doing that, and so it keeps carrying on doing that. But there's nobody that needs to do anything about it. There's nobody that needs to get anywhere. There is simply this watching that's experiencing that, and this sense of love, this sense of I amness. And that's all you need. That is the home. It's never in the mind, it's never in thought, it's never in experience, it's never in pleasure, it's never in the avoidance of pain. It's always in the experience, the empty looking, and the I am. That's the home. Yeah, nice. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye. Okay. Who else has a question? Yeah, Maristry, you can ask. Yes, ask to unmute. Hello.
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 Hello, hello, Lisa.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
Can
hear
you hear
you.
me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you quite well.
And how do I say your
Yeah.
name?
Yes?
How do I say your name?
You can just say Manju.
Manju. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. How can I help you
yeah,
or
so,
not help you today?
Yeah. So my question is about the love which you were talking about. That we should to end nuclear war. That it's like spreading love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also understood how you were talking about this. After the pandemic, things have become very crazy. So actually, I became a vegan 1 year before, and I'm now very sensitized to the pain that the animals keep on going through. All the farmed animals all over the world, and like they are separated from their families, they're imprisoned, they're being exploited, they're being slaughtered, and I don't think that we in fact deserve to not have a nuclear war. I feel that human beings don't deserve to be peaceful. So how do we do this without all of us going vegan? And that's my question.
Yeah. As you become more sensitive, it is like a hard blow to accept. Humanity's like what's that word? Sins, like humanity's like karma, like what we've done, and what we continue to do. It's like with the animals. The amount of animals that we are torturing is insane. Like the amount of bad energy that goes there, let alone what we're doing to ourselves, like doing to other humans. But the amount of animals that we're torturing on a yearly basis. I looked it up for a piece that I was writing, and it's huge amounts. It's really grotesque. And the thing that's so sad about it, and what hurts us all, is that we know we're doing it. Like there's not anyone that can claim ignorance anymore about it. We all know that that's what we're doing to animals. And it's in everything. It's not just in our food, it's in our glue, it's in our cars, like animal products. It's crazy the amount that we use animal products. And I'm not talking about the debate of whether we should eat animals or not eat animals. That's, I think, a whole different debate. What we're talking about is the torture of animals. The way in which we currently farm animals is mostly torturous. That's what we're talking about. So I really understand why do we karmically deserve not to all be eradicated? That's such a big question. And I think the first place of forgiveness is ourself. So before we forgive other people, it's ourself. And this is really painful. Actually, in this moment of saying it, it's like I feel a little bit of tear well up, because there's that really famous quote from Jesus where it's like you think he's talking about Mary Magdalene when they discovered that she was a prostitute, something like that. I'm not really a very good Christian. I was christened, but I never really practiced it or know much about it. But from what I understood, that they found out she was a prostitute and they wanted to stone her to death. And Jesus said, no, only throw a stone if you haven't sinned. So if you haven't sinned, then you have the right to throw the stone. And none of them could throw stones because they're all like, okay, we've all sinned. In a way, like Christianity, I think it's really sad that it says that we're all born a sinner, but in a way, there is some truth in that, because as soon as we move on this planet, we begin to create destruction. Like just in our being alive, there has to be a use of other materials in order to sustain us and keep us alive. And when we live in cities and grew up in cities, we kind of forget about every item that we use is taking from something or someone else,
Yes,
whether it be a
yes.
tree, whether it be rocks, stone,
Yes.
air, water. And so we have to come to terms with this in ourselves, like what it is to be human. Like, I'm not sure if we are predators in the sense that we eat animals, or whether we eat grass like a herbivore. Like, our teeth aren't really definitive either way. But just coming to peace with the fact that as soon as we're alive, others must lose their form. And that's quite a strong realization. For in order for me to be alive, others must lose their form. Not including animals, to have clothes, to have anything, others must lose their form. So the first forgiveness is ourself. Like, how do we, like all the actions that are done, the times we've lost our temper with other people, put other people down, been jealous, been spiteful, been bitter. And the realization of the competitiveness of the human, the want for more money, the want to be better than, the want to be stronger than, the want to survive, and forgive that. And I feel like the way in which we forgive that is something like Ramesh Balsekar or Roger Castillo's teaching, is really understanding that there isn't actually somebody inside these bodies that are doing these actions. So to be vegetarian or vegan isn't actually somebody's choice, it's a program that is running. And the more that we see humans as a program that's running, not individual entities that are choosing not to be vegetarian and not to be vegan, the more that this forgiveness will come for our race. We are at the mercy of life as much as every other animal and being on this planet. And we have been programmed to be like this. We've been programmed to be a very ferocious animal that wants to survive. And that programming isn't a personal thing. It's not like there's us in there that are self-centered doing it. It's something that life has created, like creating a massive tidal wave. And it's like this abundance of human energy that's going forward, desperate to survive. And just really holding that, really being with that. Like the nature, like the ferociousness of also being a human animal. And really seeing that there's nobody that's doing it, and that this is ultimately God's play. And then as you begin to disentangle from being this person, this love naturally arises for all beings, including humanity and including all of humanity's sins. It's seen as, in a way, you could say, if we get religious about it, like the Son of God. Like it's creation of this life. It's like a magnificent creation of this life. And it is profound transformation to really forgive ourselves. And it has to start with yourself, and then it will begin to go out to other people. You really understand that they couldn't be any other way. I once worked with this lady, and I changed names, and I'll change the whole story a little bit because I don't want to expose people on the internet or people that I've worked with. But she had a child with special needs, like severe special needs. And when we used to work, we often used to work on problems that came from her life, from her kids, but not from this child with special needs, even though the child with special needs was most probably the hardest on her time and had the most problematic issues in it. But she never complained about that. And so one day I asked her, like, why do you complain about, your husband, your children, your work, your colleagues, but you never complain about your child? And they were like, well, they can't be any other way. And she knew so strongly that her child with special needs couldn't be any other way, that she didn't hold any resentment there. She didn't build up any story there. It was like that child was free from these judgments and these ideas. How does that feel? It's such a big question. There's so many aspects that we could go into, like in how you feel and like what arises for you, the feelings that arise for you when you imagine the destruction that humans create, like how you feel about yourself. Like there's so many different areas. So it's just like a very basic answer in a way.
Actually, I have been to Ramesh Balsekar.
Oh, yeah.
I was with him for 12 years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, maybe I have met you sometime.
Yeah.
That's possible.
Yeah, possible, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know, since the last 1 year, I have not been able to there is a choice, isn't there? That we do have a choice.
There is an appearance of choice, yeah.
Yeah, so in fact, I exercise that choice very consciously.
Yeah.
And I stopped drinking milk, and I stopped all dairy products. You know?
Yeah.
So, and that really felt very beautiful when I did it in the beginning. I felt that I'm friendly with the universe.
Yeah.
I felt that, and I had gone for Vipassana many years back, and that there I had taken a vow not to kill, and so I felt that now is the time that I have actually fulfilled that vow.
Yeah.
And I felt deserving to be a sadhak, sort of. Like I felt that this is my entry into spirituality.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it's really beautiful. That choice, that appearance of that choice arises in you, and and I think it's really profound what it does, because when you're eating suffering, I think that has a big effect on the body, and when you're not exercising that compassion when you're eating, I think that has an effect on the psychology.
Yeah.
So I think it is a really profound move, and I really recommend it. I mean, as long as people are taking into consideration their health, like for some people it actually might not be physically healthy to do that. But yeah, I think it's really a surrendering that happens, because you're picking like love and compassion over taste.
Yeah. Right.
And simplicity. It's most probably easier to be a meat eater, especially in Europe. And it's maybe cheaper as well. Ironically, you'd think it'd be more expensive, but because, there's lots of reason for that. And it's also better for the environment. So I think psychologically, it's like a state of being in surrender. But I think it's also important to see this other aspect, that people can only do that when they're ready. They can't do it a moment before. And it doesn't mean they're bad people, because I know so many people that eat meat that are beautiful with loving hearts, and they do it for so many different reasons. And we all, in the end, you know, in order to be alive, we have to take. So even in being a vegetarian, you know, the grains that are killed will have killed lots of insects and lots of mice and little animals that we're taking. Like
Yes.
nothing comes for free.
Yes.
But I get the impulse that you have, but it's like really holding that compassion and that love for others, that they can only be at where they are. And the more that I feel, the more that we forgive ourselves, the more that we can forgive other people's actions. And forgiveness to me is really understanding like that everything's happening. It seems like it's free will, but it's dependent on everything that's come before, and it's appearing spontaneously out of this moment. So your actions are everything, not just your actions, but your parents' actions, your grandparents' actions, the founders of India's action, like everybody's actions.
Mm-hmm.
Like so it's like holding these two. So there is the appearance of choice, but it's really knowing that you can't judge other people from that. Their lives is so complex, and their brain is so complex, and their body is so complex, and their history is so complex. And humanity has got the possibility of doing amazing things. You know, we might be able to, if we can get past this period of like self-centeredness, it does feel like we're going through like mass narcissism and self-centeredness. You know, we could potentially get to a place and a time where we grow things completely sustainably, including animal products that aren't taken from an animal. So we can grow meat, like this amazing thing we can do. We can, there's just so many. We could become completely sustainable. We could also go out into the universe, like we could create a society that is so peaceful and in tune with itself. There is so much possibility in us, but in a way, like Eckhart Tolle, this video I was listening to the other day, and I don't know how he's so sure about this, but he feels that we have to go through this darkness in order to wake up. Like in order to transform. I mean, in my story, if I look at it, like if I hadn't been presented with lots of suffering early on in life, I wouldn't have gone into this subject. I'd have kept going towards pleasure until the suffering got too heavy. Yeah. But it's such a big subject. Like I'm simplifying it in a way. Like, there's so much that could be said about this, like the way that we feel towards other humans, our emotions, like our family history, the way we were brought up, like our relationships, what we've been taught.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you. That was a really beautiful question. Thank you. Yeah. And we plugged veganism, which is always a good thing. It might have an effect.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so any other hands up? No, okay, we go back to Skype. Yes, hands. One moment.
Hey, Lisa.
Hello.
How are you?
Yes, good, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Let me turn off your YouTube volume. Yes. I have a bit of an echo, by the way.
Yeah.
Let me see. Hello, hello. It's better.
Yeah, we don't have an echo this side.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to comment on what you were saying in your. Yeah, I don't know when I was when I was typing for you to call me. I thought it was very interesting about about the leadership and about telling about your how do you say that, about your I don't know, once analysis about why you potentially think that, for example, that more men are listened to, and it's something also I'm very interested in, and I just I personally think we live like in a very masculine world. It's like an overemphasis on like doing, and an underemphasis on
being.
The being, yeah, like being in a more receptive modus. And I think ultimately, like those two extremes combined will lead to like a nice regenerative state that's moving forward, but it's also like in truth, in openness, and I think personally that sometimes sometimes during my spiritual path, at times it was really nice if I had like an enlightened person, to use that word, or just like someone who just spoke very confidently about do this, yeah, just do that, and like really this sureness. It was really helpful at the time because I was coming from a place where I was coming from a place of doubt, from a place of I think I know it, but I'm not really sure, and it was really nice for someone to just push me kind of like through that. And at other times, what I really needed, and also what I got offered at times, was someone who would be like completely open with me and wasn't pointing me into any direction. Like I completely needed no invasion or like direction in my system. And and at those times that was very helpful.
Yeah, it's really nice that you've recognized that there was these two sides in your path, and that was the same here.
Yeah. Nice.
And and it's just really nice to label it and to name it, so it's not just happening unconsciously, like so people aren't just responding in old ways that they're used to.
Yeah. I totally agree, and that's why I think we've been living like in a really masculine, you can say patriarchal way of living, and I think it's being undone, and and I feel like there's way more balance for us to be achieved. And,
I mean, I have it like, there's so many ways in which I have it. Like even now, there's a little bit of concern arising in me with this conversation, because like I do tend to be quite receptive. But what can happen is that somebody can call in and then they can do a lot of talking. So whereas if they were in if I was like a more masculine style teacher, which I can be at points, then they wouldn't allow that to happen. And it's another reason why I think that I'm so popular for one-to-one sessions, is because I'm really good at holding that space to let people express themselves and find their own way and their own narrative, and not being too pushy. Like I just explore with people. But when I'm doing talks, it's problematic because like, so I could feel a little bit of nervous energy coming up when you start speaking. And this is nothing personal to you. I'm not criticizing you. I'm not saying anything about you, but it's great that we can explore it.
Yeah.
Because I know from 11 years of speaking about this that I can take calls and the other person can like blast me with information or like talk a lot. And that's really beautiful in other settings. But in this setting, it's how do I manage that? Because I am more feminine, so I am more receptive to listening to the other and to hearing the other person's ideas and to working from it. But at the same time, how do you stop it from becoming their talk and like a one-to-one session? It's like a really delicate balance. And there's no answer to that. It's not like one answer fits all and that's going to be it sorted. Like, I'm going to speak about this now with you, but then in the future, you know, there'll be different callers and it will happen again. But I can just feel it in me arising, and I wonder if other people can feel like I begin to get a little bit hesitant and I maybe over talk just to stop that happening, because I don't want people overexposing themselves. I also don't want to be like, sometimes it's like quite intense energetically. People like I don't know if you've watched all my live streams, that they can like blast you with the energy and they're talking sometimes. And then other times it's just like this, like it's maybe not so appropriate for them to talk so much in a live stream. But it's not saying that you were going to do that. I'm just because it's such an interesting conversation, I'm just expressing what begins to come up in me sometimes when people begin to call in. And then because you didn't come with a question, you came with a, like, this is how it is for me. I was like, is this going to go on for like 20 minutes? And like, how do I navigate that? That's the thoughts that come up.
Yeah. That's funny that you say it, because first, before I was going to call in, I actually thought about this.
You did?
Absolutely. Because I think this, I have seen this, what you're describing in your thoughts, and I think how you're approaching it, I can see that's complicated, and I think how you're approaching it is just, I think it's a good way. You do it in a good way, at least to a point that you got me aware of it. And I know I didn't have the question, but I chose to call in this time because I thought it was still worth commenting, worth to comment on this, what you said. I thought it would be fun.
And it's because we're having a really sweet conversation. Like, it's really, I think this is a really healthy conversation for people to hear happening. It's like, I'm not blaming you, or like, and you're not blaming me. It's just an expression of how we both feel and how we navigate that. And it's an exploration of the conversation that was had earlier.
I want to say, can I say one more thing about this?
Yeah, go for it.
So I feel so I can just write this a lot of energy. Because you're saying it, I'm like a little bit like aware of it and withholding myself. But I could talk a lot about this, and I can sense as well that you're very receptive. So if you kind of like consciously like interfere from my side, if it makes sense, like to interrupt the flow a little bit to keep things balanced. Is that kind of correct what I'm saying now, or?
I didn't understand what you said. Just the last sentence. You consciously what?
You consciously kind of like interfere with the natural flow to keep things balanced.
Right.
In this case, because maybe you're a little bit you're very receptive, like the feminine thing, and I could like talk a long time. I know that I have like a lot of energy that wants to come out, but because I know how you approach these things, I'm also like a little bit holding back.
Yeah.
And that's just, it honestly feels not about you, but it feels a little bit unsatisfactory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe even a little bit, I don't know, maybe, for me at least, I don't want to speak for you. And I also think when we
That's really cool. I love it that you're saying this stuff. Like, yeah, it feels a little unsatisfactory. I want to just be able to blast. But this is like the more feminine energy, like this receptive energy. But it's also like, I do have a really strong masculine side, but I also find this in society that if I go places, often people want to speak a lot to me. Like, so it's like I attract people that have this energy of speaking.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes a little bit painful because I want to be that for them, but it's also just not possible, you know? Like dependent on where you are or what you're doing or like these talks, it's like not appropriate so much. It's all right for a little bit, but it's not appropriate so much. So, yeah. But I really understand that, and I really understand that I evoke that, like this feminine energy evokes that, but it's also something to be aware of, this other energy that wants to be seen of this feminine energy. Like, is that what we ultimately want, to fill up that feminine energy constantly with information? Like, it's also like, is that's nice for like a healing session, and that's nice in a healing way for that person. But is this how we want to treat the feminine energy in society? Or is there also like, I love it when I'm in conversation with people and they just drop out of speaking and there's just this like silence. I love meeting people and just being like, hey, and then falling into silence, you know, not having to say anything.
Yes.
But it's very uncomfortable for people. And also because I tend to want that, I notice that also creates a lot of talking from the other side as well, because they're like, oh God, it can't go silent. That's so awkward. I can't be silent with her. I don't know what to do with myself. You have to fill up the space and then
in very interesting dynamics.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to say about it. I'm just really, I relate, by the way, what you said at first. I've also been like a very receptive person most of my life, and people always opened up. They said, like people that I just knew, they opened up about so much deep stuff. And that's how I lived most of my life. I was also like a little bit codependent, and from my upbringing, my attachment style. And now finally, like after like so much time, I'm more of my masculine energy is a little bit coming out. So now it's not only masculine, it's also like expression. I often also sometimes relate to it as like feminine energy, like the throat chakra, and that just all wants to come out now. So I have to. This is the last thing I'm going to say. And so I have trouble not only with you, but now it's like difficult for me to, because I'm aware of this, and still I need to find a way to put that energy, because it really wants to come out now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's sweet.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe you need to make a YouTube channel just to like speak.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I might do something like that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, thank you for allowing me to say that and to be so honest with you. Like, it's really sweet.
Yeah, same way around. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, thanks, Hans.
Cool. Have a nice day.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay. So where are Zoom? Where's Zoom? There it is. It's all these different pages. Anybody have their hand up there? No. So I'll just take a couple more questions and then we call it a day. So remember, if you're writing the question in YouTube chat, put question. Okay, so that's Seth. What does non-duality think about near-death experience, the survival of the entity and its return to all that is? I don't know, like when I hear about near-death experiences, it always makes me think about like waking up, because often they're going towards some sort of light and there's lots of love, but their brain is maybe just still producing some sort of imagery or things. But it could also be that there are very distinct previous lives, like one movement to another life. It doesn't negate non-duality. I'm not opposed to life after death, like that this body, this character, Lisa, has another life after this in a different body. I mean, it doesn't mean that non-duality isn't the truth, that there isn't that empty looking that's experiencing. It's just looking and experiencing Lisa in a different life. Lisa, is non-dual a phase one goes through in this never-ending discovery, or do you see it as final destination? I see it as final destination in one way because it's like the absolute truth, but in the human life there's a never-ending expansion into oneness. So the person can always expand more into oneness. They can always expand their thoughts, their ideas, their behavior. That's never ending. Question. Please can you speak more about communication? I didn't know I was speaking about communication. Maybe you can write in what regards you want me to speak about communication. We just had a really beautiful conversation, me and Hans, about communication. Okay, I think that's the end of questions. Yeah, nice. So maybe we can just sit in silence for 5 minutes before we end, because we don't do the silent sitting at the beginning. Just some reminders. So there's a Zoom talk coming up next Sunday. No, it's not next Sunday, I don't think. I think it's the Sunday after. Oh, I've forgotten. The first Sunday of December. So not the 27th, the 4th. So on the 4th there's a Zoom meeting, so 2 weeks. I'm going to start doing these talks again on Sunday, but at 4:30 French time. But always check my YouTube channel, because I'm going to put this live stream thing where it tells you in advance if I'm streaming or not on my channel. You'll see it if you go on there. It's hard to describe what it is. So you can subscribe to that. Make sure you like the video. And also there is a retreat that I will be doing next Easter in northern Germany, so you can go on my website, which is linked below, and find out about that. Woohoo! I did it all. There's also another channel called Lisa Cairns Video Clips. It's not my channel, but another person edits these live talks into small chunks, and gives them titles and puts them in playlists. So that's also associated with this channel. You can find it below. Yeah, nice. Okay. Yeah, nice. So that's the end for today. I wish you all well with everything. Yeah, and I will do a stream next Sunday at 4 p.m. French time, so it's half an hour later than what it was. But make sure that you subscribe and that you get notifications for that next stream. You'll find it on my YouTube channel. Yeah. Wishing you everything, every goddamn thing, everything.